Recording. So I welcome all of you on this session on the Python implementation of the k-nearest neighbors algorithm that we discussed in the last session. Okay, so here all the mathematics and all the underlying logic of k-nearest neighbor has been is available for all of us to use by this open source machine learning library called scikit-learn. We are using this for all the lectures, right? So all the we need not to worry about the mathematics. We can directly use predefined model, predefined let's say program snippets and program and like the whole library is written for all of us to use, right? So one tricky thing or one special thing about this particular exercise is that here we need not to worry about what are the columns or what does the column means or what are the features, what do they mean, and how do they affect, right? So basically one way of one application of k-nearest neighbor is that you can explore some unlabeled or unknown data, right? So I do not know the columns, what are the columns mean, but I have a target class. I just know that based on these 5, 10, 20 columns, this is the output. Based on these 20 inputs, this is the output, right? So I can just cluster or group my data based on the target class and using the k-nearest neighbors library. Okay, so basically we have been given a classified data set from a company, so maybe from a bank. So they have not given what does the they have hidden the feature column names, but have given you a data and the target class, right? So now we'll need now we'll try to use KNN to create a model that directly predicts a class for a new data point based off of the features, right? So of course we need to work with data, and we will be plotting. We need to plot because like data exploration and data visualization and data cleaning are the prerequisite steps of machine learning, right? So ultimately the application or the implementation of machine learning is only 4 lines or maybe less than that, 4 lines of code. But before that we need to process or transform our data in a form that my computer can understand that, or a processor can understand that, right? So basically the data provided to you is this one. Let me open it. It looks like, so these are the columns and these are some random values, and at the end we have a class, target class, and we have these columns. It's a CSV file, comma separated value file, right? So when I run it, so the name of the file is classified data. So I'll just use pandas.read CSV method to read this file, and the index column is the first column, right? So first column is 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. So the first column itself is kind of a sequence, right? So I will identify that as a index column is equal to 0. So this means that read this file, CSV file, and treat the 0th column as the index column, right? So if I read it like this, my data looks like this, right? If I do not use this, then my data will look like this. Run this and I will look at head. So I have this particular column unnamed, right? Because it's already there, so it's kind of a repetition. So it's better to always use this thing if it is there in the CSV file. Now, so my data looks, so the columns are some random. Okay, let me. Yes, the column names and are not identifiable. They are anonymized, but I have a target class. So based on all these values, this thing belongs to class 1. Based on all these values, this thing belongs to class 0. So you can think of it as based on all these different biological parameters, this animal belongs to a horse class. 1 is horse, 0 is dog. Based on all these biological parameters or whatever parameters, this particular animal belongs to the dog class, right? Like that. So there are only just 2 classes. So based on that, now I want to study how can I use k-nearest neighbors on this, right? So if you look at all the different values of our data set, they are somewhat near to 1 only, 1 plus minus something, right? So there are kind of belong to the same range. But in actual case, in reality, data, the values, the ranges of all the columns may vary. So it can be like 10,000, lakhs and crores, or some values can be negative or less than 0 or maybe 0, right? So it's and the algorithm k-nearest neighbors depends on finding the distances. So distance formula is x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. So there is some mathematical subtraction happening, and they are squaring them and then under rooting them. So it is highly probable that if there is a bigger number, right? So and a very small, if I use, if I subtract a very small number from a very high number, so and I'll square it and take the under root, so it is going to affect the overall distance in a very very hugely. Okay, so if I have lot of bigger numbers, lot of bigger values in my columns, then finding the distances will be dominated by those bigger values only, because ultimately mathematics, we are doing mathematical operations on some numbers. So if all the numbers does not belong to the same range, the same range means, so in my whole data set, in every column, every row, my values are fixed or will not stray away or be will always fall between say 10 to 20, then it is fine, right? But in some columns my values are between 10 to 20, in other column the values are more than 10,000, maybe going up to 5 lakh, 10 lakh, and in some of the column my values are minus 3.5, minus 1.5, 1.25, right? So we need to standardize, or we need to kind of scale the whole data set to fall between the same ranges. Okay, so this is called standardizing the variables, right? So it is because the KNN classifier predicts the class of a given test observation by identifying the observations that are nearest to it, right? The scale of the variable matters. Scale means the range in which my data is lying. Okay, so any variables that are on a large scale will have a high which have a much larger effect on the distances between the observations, right? So we need to take care of the scale. Now simply what, so basically let me just explain what scaling means, right? So for we have always used, we have used the Z or the standard normal distribution. So I will do x minus x bar divided by standard deviation, right? Standard deviation is sigma. So basically in any column, for every value I will subtract each value from the mean of the column and divide by the standard deviation. So basically if my any, so if I'm talking about any column, suppose my value looks like this, like these are my different values of any single column. So my mean will be somewhere here, so I will subtract that mean. So basically my new plot will look like this. So this will be my new plot, right? My values are coming close to here, and I'm dividing it by standard deviation, right? So kind of I am limiting, I am kind of centering my data around the mean of the data set, around the origin, or say 0, right? So my values can range from say 0 to 10,000, but when I divide it by, when I subtract the mean, which say 5,000, this come into a certain minimum range, and I'm dividing this by the standard deviation. So basically I am transforming my data from any real number ranges to be centered around 0, right? So let me clear all my drawings. And so for performing all this, so basically each and every value, every column or row value, every value will be subtracted. So this value will be subtracting the from this value, we will subtract the mean of this column and divide it by standard deviation. So I will get a number. Then this value will be we will subtract mean of this particular column from this value subtracted by standard deviation of this particular column. Then we'll take this value, again subtract the mean from it and divide by the standard deviation of this column, so that all of so I have to perform this operation with each and every cell of my data frame except the target class, because it is 0 and 1. It does not, it is not so this here the number means nothing, and we are not using this class for our nearest finding the distance calculations. Okay, so we have to perform this. So this mathematical calculation you all can perform by using simple programming, Python programming. But a better way of doing is to use a standard scalar method from sklearn library pre-processing module, right? So I have it open somewhere. Standard scalar, if you take a look at this pre-processing, right? So this is, so please always keep referring to the documentation. So basically it will give the standard score of a sample x. So x is like z is equal to x minus nu u by s. So u is the mean, s is the standard deviation, right? So it's kind of gives the values between centered around 0. Okay, so now if I will import standard scalar from sklearn.processing pre-processing, I will create an object. So here I have imported the logic into my program, but I have to need to create an object to use it, right? So scalar is my standard scalar object. Now I want to fit it to my data set. First it will fit. So fitting will be finding the mean of all the columns, finding the standard deviation of all the columns means fitting. So I will fit this scalar on my data frame on every column except the target class. That's why I am dropping the target class, because target class is what I like will not be used in the KNN algorithm. This is something which I want to predict, like whether it's a horse or a dog. But I will be using these parameters for calculation. So I will not scale I will not scale or standardize this particular target variable. Okay, so I am passing also this thing will give you what? My complete column, my complete data frame except the target class, right? So now once I fit this thing, I need to transform. So now fitting means finding the mean and standard deviation of all the columns. Now once it is I have figured out the mean and standard deviation, I want to change or transform my data set, right? So I will use scalar.transform and transform my whole data set except the target column. Same thing, except the target column, you transform my complete data set. Okay, now if you want to now let's create a new data frame which will combine all the scaled features, right? So let me so scaled features is this one, right? I am scaling and I'm giving it column names. So basically it is creating a new data frame of the scaled features where the column names are same as my this data frame except this class, except this name. So I need all these column names up to here. I don't want this column name over here. So I can manually write, or I can use this method called df.column. So columns is equal to df, which is this one. This is my df dot columns, all the columns except the last column. You remember the slicing approach, right? So if I just print maybe df dot columns, right? So you get all the columns, right? So the last column is target class. If I print like this, I'll get all the columns. If I just want to get all the columns except the last column, I will use columns -1. Same thing I am putting over here, right? So this thing will give me a data frame like this. Okay, so it is a standardized or a scaled data frame. The values have changed. See, this value was 0.913. It became -0.123452, right? So basically, not much effect will happen in this particular data set, because all the values are almost of the same range. There is no abrupt value over here. But just to make this point clear, that whenever you are working with an actual data, always have a look how your data columns are distributed. Are there any extreme values or very high big numbers or small numbers? Then you always have to perform standardization, right? Or you can scaling of the columns. So now this is my scaled data frame. Now my data is completely processed. There is no missing values. There is no data transformation need to be done. There are no string or you can say categorical variables. Everyone is the number. So this whole data frame is perfect and ready for my algorithm to consume and work upon it. So now my machine learning part comes in, right? So of course the flow is like that. We have to divide my data into train and test split, right? So I can do it manually also, but it's always good to use this sklearn.model selection. I'll import train test split, and I will divide my data into these 4 variables called xtrain, xtest, ytrain, and ytest. Basically divide my data set into 2 parts: testing data set and training data set. Okay, and what I am choosing over my data frame is this one, df.drop to target class. So basically I'm just passing my original data set right now without the scaled variables. So my x values are the original data without the target column, and my y value is my target column. Remember, because x and y, x is, I hope you should always remember. So what I want to do is that I want to predict like this: y is equal to mx plus c, right? So we will be talking about, so this is the target variable, target, and x is the features, right? So here my x variable here will be like everything in my data frame except the target class, and y variable is just the target class, right? Okay, and my test size is 30.3. That means 30% of all these rows of all these data set, of all these of all the data, out of the data, 30% will be used for testing, 70% will be used for training. Training means from the 70% of the data I will learn the parameters, or those 70% questions I will ask my model to learn or memorize or generalize, and on 30% I will do the testing, how much it is scoring, and I will keep doing it until a nice accuracy is achieved. So let's take a look how much right? So how many rows are there? So counts are like this one. So let me take this df only. I want to describe it, right? So there are what, 1,000 data points, right? There are 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. There are 1,000 rows. So out of this, 700 will be used for training and 300 will be used for testing, right? So now this is, I have split my data into two parts. Next, I will define a KNN model. So from sklearn.neighbors, I will import the k neighbors classifier, right? So because we need not to program it or write the code ourselves, it is already written over there. I can directly use it. It's open source. So from sklearn.neighbors, like neighbors is the class of all the class belonging to nearest neighbors. From that, I am importing this particular classifier. Then I am creating a model instance of the KNN in my program, which is called KNN. It is k nearest neighbor classifier, and the number of neighbors I am using as of now is 1. I am just taking the value of k for now is 1. I am fitting my model on X train and Y train, and I'm making some predictions on the Y test, right? So here in this line, it is learning from the 700 examples, learning from the 700 or 70% examples, right? And here it is predicting the 30% test cases. Okay, so now it is making predictions, right? So now my prediction will be what, either 0 or 1 for 300 data points, and it will have some kind of accuracy. So for 3 out of 300, for 200 it is correct, for 100 it is wrong, and out of the 100 wrongs, where it should be 1, my model said it is 0. Where it should be 0, my model said it should be 1. Right, so it will have wrong prediction and correct predictions. So we need to know, we need to use the confusion matrix, right? I hope you all remember confusion matrix to identify or to check the performance of my model, right? So to evaluate our model, I will from sklearn.matrix, I will import classification report and a confusion matrix. And if I print my confusion matrix, it looks like this. Right, so if I run it now, it look like this. So it has 130 correct predictions plus 140 correct predictions. These two are my wrong predictions, right? So basically they should belong to class 0, but my model says they belong to class 1, like false negative, and these are the false positives. Okay, we have seen this in the machine learning lecture part, right? Now if you want to check the classification report, it looks like this. So basically my accuracy is somewhat 91%, right? So it says for class 0, my precision is 92%. For class 1, my precision is 91%. So you can think of it as like out of 300 examples, 270 times my predictions are correct, right? Something like that. Okay. So now this is fine. The accuracy is pretty good with just one neighbor also. Now I can change the number. Now let me change it to maybe 3, right? I change the neighbors to 3. And I run it again. If I train it again, I predict it again, I'll import this and I will print this. Now see, it is 130, 147. If I run this, see this accuracy for this class went up, and this is exactly the same. So that means I can change the number of my neighbors to get a better accuracy. Now this approach of manually changing and checking my prediction and performance again and again, it's quite manual, or it's quite boring, right? So how can what approach can I take to select or to choose a value of k, right? So to select the value of k, we'll be using the elbow method. Please remember this term, elbow method, because maybe I should highlight it. I should do a star. So I will use a elbow method to check the. So I will use a elbow method to pick a good value of k. Now, what is then elbow method? So elbow method is nothing fancy. It is simply I will try different values of k. I will find the error or the accuracy, and wherever my accuracy or wherever I get the minimum error, right? Minimum error, I will choose that value of k to be my final value of k. Right. So for our example, let's take values of k from in a range of 1 to 40. Like starting from 1, I will go up to 40. For every line, I will create a KNN model. I will fit my model. I will make predictions, and I will do the error. I will check error. Error means So I will mean like for when the value of k is say 5, I fitted the model, I predicted my outcomes, and I checked what was the error of my outcomes, right? So how many times it was not equal to the, so whenever my prediction is not equal to my test set, you take the mean of those values and append it to this list, error rate list. So basically at the end of this for loop, this list will be having 40 values corresponding to the errors when the k value is 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 40, right? So let me run this particular cell and let me just print this error rate to see how it looks like. So this is what my error rate looks like. So 0.1, 0.07, 0.26. So basically it makes less sense as of now. It will be better if we can just plot it on a plot, right? So so I want to have a plot like this where for different values of k on the x-axis, I am checking what is the error rate. So at any value where the error rate is minimum or it is like kind of close to zero, it will be, I will pick that value. Why it is called a elbow? Because this shape, right, this shape kind of looks like an elbow. So if you take a look at your hand, there is a curvature. So the lowest point is at your elbow, right? So basically it generally looks like this. So basically at this point, or maybe it may look like this, right? So at particular, this is my elbow point. So this is my hand, right? And this is my elbow point. So that's why it is called an elbow method, right, to find out the value of k. So starting initially the error will be high. As I increase the value of k, it will keep going down, less, and after a certain point it will become kind of constant. So like if you see in this example, at that all these values, the error is more or less same, because see the range is very less, 0.06. So this point will be what, 0.02, this point will be 0.03. So that the scale, or the, you can say, this interval is very less. So these things is kind of constant only. So I can pick any of these values as my k values, right? Not any of these values, the value where the error is minimum, right? So clear all the drawings. Yeah. So basically here I have two options. I can take the value of k. So I think this value of k is equal to 6 is the best, right? And I can also take this 11 also, or I can actually take the value of k to be 20 to get the best performance. So now let's take a quick comparison or take a look. So when my model is k, I'm fitting, I'm making predictions, and I'm printing the confusion matrix, and I'm printing the classification report for neighbors is equal to 1. When I print it, we saw it before, it's 0.92%, right? Now with k is equal to 20, k is equal to 6, right? If I try now with k is equal to 6, why? Because at 6 I am getting the minimum error. At k is equal to 6, I do the same thing again with k is equal to 6. I get my output to be what, 93 to 94%, right? I can also check it at a value of 20. Let's see what it gives us. If I do it at 20, see, it is getting 95%, right? So my class 0 precision is improving, but this is decreasing. So probably I should better stop at what? The value of 6 or 7. Let's try 7. Right. So at 7, I'm getting, see, 96 and 91. This is I think the highest accuracy that I'm getting. So this is how we choose a value of k, right? So this is how we perform a k nearest neighbor classification using Python. Right. So let's revise whatever we did today. Right. So basically we started with importing our libraries that will be used in like Pandas, Seaborn, and Matplotlib and NumPy. Right. Then I read my data as a data frame, Pandas data frame. I checked out the data to see if there are any string values or missing values, or are there some data cleaning needs to be done. What we found out is that since we are using KNN, and KNN depends on the distances between the points, so any higher values or big numbers can adversely affect our calculations. So we need to standardize the variables or do a scaling of the variables, right? So for scaling, we use standard scaler, which rotates, or you can say which centers every column around its mean, right? Around its mean. So we imported a standard scaler from scalar and preprocessing, created an object instance of the scalar. Then we fitted this scalar on my data frame except the target variable, target column, right? Then I transformed my data frame given the scalar. So based on the scalar, I manipulated or changed the values or scaled the values of all data frame except the target column, because target column will not be used in the calculation of the k nearest neighbors, right? Then this is how my transform data looked like. This is how my transform data looked like. Then once my data was ready for machine learning or a machine learning input, I divide my data into two parts, one for testing, one for training, using the sklearn.model selection training and test split. And I fix the test size to be 30%, right? 70% training, 30% testing, right? Then because I'm working, I want to make a KNN model. I will import the k nearest neighbors classifier from sklearn.neighbors, create an object with some number of, by default number of neighbors, maybe 1, 2, 3, whatever is there. Then I will fit my model, right? And I will make some predictions. Then I will evaluate how well my model is performing by using classification report, and more importantly, confusion matrix. So with now with a specific number of neighbors, I will get some specific accuracy and precision or performance of my model. I can later on I can change, or I can experiment with different values of k to figure out which value gives me the best result. So for choosing the value of k, we looked at the elbow method, where we are plotting the for multiple values of k, what is the error, and we are choosing that value of k as the final value where we are getting the minimum error, right? So we kind of for our example, we take an example of up to just 40 k values. We can take up to 100,000, whatever you want, but it should be a meaningful value based on the data we are working on, right? So for all these 40 values, I defined a model, I fitted the model, I made some predictions, and based on the prediction, I found out the error. Like for every specific value of KNN, what is the mean error I'm getting? Mean, like, so I'll get error for all the 300 rows of testing. What is the mean of all those values, right? Then I get a plot like this, which is called an elbow plot, and I pick up the lowest value, maybe 6 over here or maybe 20 over here, to get a better accuracy. And so this is the accuracy with just one neighbor. K is equal to 1 gives me 92% accuracy, and k is equal to 7 gives me 96% accuracy, or 94% overall accuracy, 96% for just the zero class. So this is it. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Otherwise, we can this part is kind of over. The KNN
yes,
algorithm.
Sir. Yeah. When we talk about train data and test data, sir.
Yes.
Like that 70% and 30%, what you told.
Yes.
So is it entirely dependent on that confusion matrix, or how it is, sir?
No. So it is defined over here. So you can fix at 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5. Yeah. So we are deciding it manually. So when we are dividing our data into training and test,
what happens if the test size is 1, sir?
If you do the test size
like
is 1, that means 100%. That means that there is no example for learning. So your machine learning will be having nothing to learn. So basically, you do not read the subject, you directly go for exam. It's like that. So basically, we have to give some examples for learning, and naturally we have to give more examples to learn than to test, right? So if I give you only 10 questions to learn and I ask 50 questions in exam, then of course your performance will be bad, right? But if I give you 50 questions to learn and I just take exam of 10 questions, then you can actually think of performing better. So like generally this test size should be less as compared to the training size. So 10%, 20. So like we have 1,000 rows only, 1,000 data points. So I'm fixing at it 30%. So if I have 10,000 rows, then I can just do with 10% also. So 9,000 data points will be used for training and learning, and only 10%, or you can say 1,000 data points will be used for testing, right? So this is completely up to us.
Okay, sir. Like what happens with the increase in the test size? We mean to say that we have a better efficiency network.
If we have sufficient number of examples, so let's say presently we have just 1,000 examples. So here, so let me just make it as 50, right? Let me make it as 50, and I now fit this particular and make predictions, right? And I want to just predict over here, right? Okay, if I predict, run it. So see, I'm getting this examples, right? So what is my classification report says? My classification report says like this, right? So I'm getting a better accuracy right? So presently, while by making it at 50%, the test size, 50% testing, 50% training, I'm kind of getting a better accuracy, right? But it may happen that in a real case, if the number of examples are not sufficient, and I'm giving a higher test case, then it may perform poorly, right? So the ultimate goal is that we have to give more examples for learning, more and better defined examples for learning, and sufficient number of examples for testing, right? Same thing same thing, just like when a student is preparing for an exam, he wants to practice a lot, and he also wants to give a lot of number of practice tests, right? So you cannot just give, okay, I will just only give practice set, I will not study from the book, I will not study from data, I will not learn, I will directly give test. So if you directly give test, that is not good. If you prepare less and give more tests, that is also not good. So you need to prepare or study the material more and do sufficient number of tests also, right? Practice test. So it's like that only. So it's completely up to us. We can tweak this, we can change this, and let's see whatever, like which performance, whatever the performance we are getting. So generally more training examples, more training data means better results. And yeah, so your result will always depend on your training example, not on testing example. So on testing, I'm just checking whether my prediction is correct or wrong. So my model's performance will only depend on the training size, right? X train and Y train. Testing is, I'm just, okay, you have prepared, now give this test, whatever you score will be your performance. It's like that. So we should always provide more number of examples for learning, more train size.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Okay, it says we have less than 5 minutes. So if there are no more questions, then I think we can call it a day. And please, guys, let's try to meet tomorrow. Okay. We have like three.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Definitely.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is a holiday.
Yeah. So what is there tomorrow? I think we also have a holiday.